Okay, well, first and foremost, like I said, man, glory be to God. I want to thank you, Brother Laugh, for allowing me to do this. And so my testimony begins like this. So I was in the middle of one of the most downpour times in my life, bro, where I didn't know which way was up. I didn't know if I was coming or going half the time. At that point in time, I was so deep in my addiction to where I was smoking meth on the daily. I was smoking Sherm, which is PCP. I'm smoking anywhere from 3 to 4 to maybe 5 sticks a day. That is really enough to make the natural person really go insane because smoking PCP is just not a safe drug at all. But no drug is safe. But that wasn't a safe drug at all. But at that time, my mind was I was so broken. I was so distraught in my spirit that I felt like I was dead. I was literally dead inside. And I knew that I was in a grand sense because every day that I woke up, I would look in the mirror and I would just look at me and I would say, man, I hate you. I hate you. I hated myself. So I did any and everything possible to stay outside of this body to be able to recognize me because I hated me so much. I hated me. That's one thing about when we do drugs. A lot of people think that people do drugs because they like having fun and they like staying high. No, we do drugs because we hate that person that we're looking at. We hate that person. And I hated Reggie. During that period, I was living in the garage of one of my family members. Um, at that present time during this time, I was sleeping in the garage, like I said, and we were working at the carnival that we had here in our hometown, and so my day would start fairly early. I was waking up anywhere between 3 or 4 o'clock to get ready for work because we'd have to be there by 5. So this particular night, I'm in the garage and I kind of dozed off a little bit, and when I dozed off, I there was a heater that was placed in front of me, a really bright red heater, and I had this heater in front of me every night, but for some reason this night the heater felt different. The heat that came off of it felt different. It felt rather illuminating. And when I dozed off the very first time, I woke up and I remember jumping like, oh, and but I was encased in fear. This fear that clothed me and clothed my whole body. I just didn't understand. And I really didn't want to go back to sleep, but I was so tired from the day that I knew that I had to. As I laid down and I remember closing my eyes, brother. The next time that I opened my eyes, I looked and I saw me laying on the floor in the garage. The garage was the natural form as what the garage was in when I was standing there looking at myself. But I felt so weird because I knew that this was out of body and I'm looking around, but I knew that I was in the garage, but I'm watching myself on the floor, sleep, and I was kind of curled in the fetal position. I closed my eyes, and as I opened them, from the ground up, this encasing of this tomb started to form in the garage. The garage was disappearing. It was lifting up like this. And as it was lifting up, the garage was disappearing. And here comes this cave. And the cave continued to lift and it got higher and higher and higher and higher and higher and higher and higher. And it kept on going. And before long, now I'm saying I only feel about this big inside the cave. Because now the cave has consumed. I'm still looking at myself on the floor, but the fear, okay, this fear that set in, and now this different atmosphere of heat that came over me in this cave because now I'm watching myself on the floor, but I'm standing there, I see my hands, I see my feet, I see me, but I'm watching me on the floor. Now I'm getting scared. Because at this point, now I'm starting to have these thoughts go through my head as if that I think I died in my sleep. And now I went to hell. Because this cave that came, the rocks they were breathing. The rocks, that was in his cave. These rocks was different. This just wasn't no normal cave. The heat that started to permeate the air was starting to kind of feel like it was kind of melting my skin a little bit. At that point, I could feel my breath getting short because my lungs, they didn't feel correct. They didn't feel right. And I was still watching myself on the floor. But now panic, anxiety, and this fear was starting to grip me to the point to where I was so scared that I couldn't express the fear to myself, because usually you try to make sense of your dreams sometimes when you go into a dream world and you be like, hey, am I here or am I not? Or where am I? But that fear started to consume me. And as that fear started to consume me, I began to scream. This scream that broke out, it felt like my jaw was about to snap and my teeth, they was breaking all by themselves because I was screaming so loud and so hard, but nobody could help me at that point. I wanted out. You know how you go into a dream and you want to get out that dream real bad? I wanted out. And I'm encased in this tomb, but now I said, I need out of here in my mind because I wasn't able to talk. As I close my eyes again, because I remember when I closed my eyes before. Now we're talking about the spiritual world, where the transference of being able to go from one section to another is a lot different. But I'm getting ready to close my eyes because I need out of here. When I close my eyes that second time, I wake up and I'm encased in a tomb, but this time I'm on the floor. When I opened up my eyes, I was on the floor. There was one hand that was like this, that was sticking up, but I was paralyzed. I could not move. And I'm gonna make the face because that's really the only way I can really explain it. Now when I opened my eyes and I looked up, I could only move, like I say, like about right here, right here. And as in front of me, I could see these black, sharp, kind of smooth, but I want to say these real crystallized rocks, but it was so dark, but I could only see kind of what's in front of me and what's around me. And there was a very, very long tunnelway. I could see down at the end, there was this very pinpoint of light. But as I'm like this, in this rock, and I'm looking up like this, there's people encased in this tomb. In this tomb, in these sharp rocks, we were in the rocks. We were the rocks. There were bodies all on the ceiling of the tomb. The tomb, it went forever. The bodies that was encased in this tomb was unreal. And there was somebody next to me that I could see, and I could kind of look over like this and see the next person next to me. This person, the teeth were broken. The lip was split all the way up into the eye. The eyeball was hanging out the socket. His nose was disfigured because it was leaning over here this way. And as I'm looking up, I'm trying to break up even more. Every time I lift it up, I could feel the rocks pull my skin off of my neck. And it says if I could feel the blood seeping, but it didn't feel like it because it was too unreal, because these rocks had literally been able to just peel, but I could hear the tendons and the bones break every time I try to lift up. And I'm looking around. And I couldn't scream because of being encased and being paralyzed in these rocks. But I knew that there was people. The sounds that came from the voices of these brothers and sisters, whether they may be, were all crying out. But there was no leaving. The thing about being encased in this rock formation, in this cave went on forever. And I mean, it was forever. It was you. I knew in my mind, I knew in my spirit as I was paralyzed that it was no leaving this place. There was no getting out of this tomb that I was in. But what really got me was the fact that I was able to know what they all did in their sin. Whether it was fornication, whether it was suicide, whether it was a car wreck, or whether they had been killed by somebody. It was no communication between me and them, but everything that they had did was flooding through my spirit, and that wreaked even more fear on me. I knew that I was not leaving. But at that very moment that I was encased in that tomb, I knew that I had been separated from God forever. I could hear the curses that was coming from them about God, that he hated. They were so angry. But this tomb was filled with so much fear. It was filled with so much hatred that it permeated everything that was going on inside of me to where I didn't even want to move. But the more that I tried to move, the more that I broke. You could hear every bone, every tear that was being committed on my body. And I never heard that before. And that just mortified me. It felt almost as that I was throwing up at the same time, but I'm being suffocated at the same time. You like, this was the feeling of being choked out and suffocated and trying to throw up and trying to swallow all at once, but that was not going to happen. And the being paralyzed like that, where you just can't move and this arm is just sitting like this, but you see pieces of arms in front of you. You see heads that are sticking up out of the rocks right there in front of me. This was happening as I'm on the floor, and I keep trying to move, but as I keep trying to move, once again, my skin is tearing. I literally knew that I was in hell at this point. It was no other way to be able to manage or come up with a clearer understanding to know that at this point I have died. I've died in my sin. I've died in my sin, and I'm going to hell. I'm going to hell. I'm in hell. I knew that I was a sinner. I knew that I was so broken at this point. I knew that it was no getting out. I knew that there was no saving me. The grandest part about this whole thing, brother, is that I knew that I would never be able to communicate with God ever again. You feel the detachment from Christ. Christ is not there with you. God is not there with you. You'll never ever be able to say, Father God, forgive me. If nobody gets anything out of this message, out of this testimony, understand that serving God, being with God, is the greatest feeling that you could ever have, even if you are a sinner and you are in your own worst deep darkness. Because when you go to hell, you will never ever be able to have a communication with Christ, because it is the separation. It is a complete separation away from God. And everyone there feels that. That is the worst feeling about. Forget about the torment. Forget about the heat. Forget about the pain. Forget about the screams. Forget about the yells. Forget about all of that. You'll never feel the presence of God ever again.
Okay,
that is
people.
The worst part about being a hell. I don't know about nobody else, but I know I felt the absence of Christ.
Okay, people. I want you all to go watch this video.
You can't scream enough.
Watch his video in full. God let me see hell, and it changed everything on God's Voice today. People, a lot of people are giving testimonies about hell and its reality. Jesus Christ spoke more about hell than he did heaven, because he paid the price for you not to go there. Listen, people, time is running out on all of us to repent. Do you think your time on this earth is forever? Hell is as real or more real than this place you call earth. This is a place we were placed, I believe, to go through the trial, the tribulation, to bring us closer to salvation. As that man said, there was no salvation in that place. There was only torment. And the real thing, like he said, being separated from salvation, which is Jesus Christ. No, it's like when you get sick, you know you can go to a doctor. Or you break a leg and you get a cast, and you know eventually the cast come off and you can walk again. Or anything that you feel in this world, and even at your lowest point, you know, well, you know what? I could actually get some help if I want to. I can get out of this somehow. It's always a way out. But when you are in hell, like he said, you know there's no way out. You know why? Because you rejected the way out. You rejected the only way out, which is Jesus Christ. And all the time he gives you, because I think you will know that you had plenty of time, which if you hear his whole testimony, he will go to that point as well, that he knew all the people God sent him. Many years he suffered in his sin, but that's just one sin. It's not just about addiction. It's other sins. It's called secret sins. People got sins in their heart that they think nobody else know about. But guess who knows everything? Who knows is the one who created this world. You can't hide from Christ. He made a place called hell for the fallen angels, the ones who rebelled when they knew who he was. He didn't make it for you because at that point, his creation, man, did not know him. They rebelled because they were deceived. Okay, so he made a way for you to come out of deception, out of your sin nature. And now you have a conscience to know good from evil. And if you choose to continue in your sin, because I believe everyone knows when they're in sin, it's a consciousness that you are made aware of. But you have that will that God gives all of us a choice to make. You're not a robot. You're not a program. You are given self-will to choose which way to go. And many have chosen to be encased in hell. Go watch it, people. And there are other testimonies, but his just was a grip that I wanted at least this message to be on this platform, that people can maybe wake up and examine themselves and try to draw closer to the Savior. Your salvation is in Jesus Christ, Yeshua. Okay, people.